Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome to a new video. So you've seen the title then. In this one, we're going to be discussing when you can expect to see your first sale, how to make your first sale, and when you can expect to start making a profit as well. So I've been dropshipping now for nearly 3 years, in fact over 3 years. So we're going to be looking at my ad manager account from back then when I first started, so you guys can see when I made my first sale and what the kind of like first few months looks like for me. Once we've gone through that, then I'm just going to give you some actionable information if you're starting dropshipping this year, and how to succeed and how to replicate the sort of results that I was fortunate enough to do, because dropshipping and Facebook ads and Shopify, in terms of just market demand and all of that sort of thing, then things have changed quite significantly then since when I first started over 3 years ago. Now, before we jump into it, I just want to quickly mention, as always in every single video, I am giving away a free one-to-one consultation call with me. So if you want to talk to me one-to-one, then all you have to do for a chance to win is simply like the video and leave a comment down below. And if you commented on yesterday's video, just make sure you stay tuned to the end of this one, where the winner will be announced. And with that being said then, let's jump straight into it. So here we are then guys, inside my very first ad manager account that I ever created. This is where I very first started 3 years ago now. These are all the different campaigns, and you won't be able to see the names because I've blurred them out, because I still actually sell some of these products even still today. I just want to draw your attention though to the date in the top right corner. You can see it's June 30th 2016, and this was actually my very first day advertising, and I was actually fortunate enough to make a sale, and it was actually this green bracelet here. You won't be able to see the campaign name, but to actually show you the product, this is the exact product from the exact supplier as well. I'm going to show you some more proof in a second, but before I do that, just to kind of prove that was my very first day advertising, I'm just going to go June 29th all the way back to November 2015, just to show you total spent was 0. So June 30th was actually the very first day I started advertising. Don't ask me why I started on that day, for whatever reason. I spent £4.84 to spend to return £7.99. So not brilliant, but as you can imagine, I was pretty excited about that. I was starting a new business, and the fact that somebody was buying a product from me that I hadn't even seen, that was in China, that was going to be shipped direct to them, it was still quite an exciting moment. So moving on then, things improved. July 2016, I spent $3.90 for $4.55 back. I wasn't making money at that point, but at that point I didn't really care. I was starting a new business, so I was still really excited. And because I was seeing the actual potential, then I decided to invest a lot more. So if we have a look at August 2016, I spent a little bit more on ad spend and returned over £1,200. And by this point, I was making like a pretty decent amount of money each month, certainly enough to notice it in my bank account. So you can imagine how excited I was at this point. So I decided to keep going, keep spending more money on ads. In September, I spent $1,600 for $5.4 back with an even bigger ROAS. So at this point, I was making more money than I was in my 9-to-5 job. So you can just imagine how excited I was. And just as a bit more proof then for you guys, we're in my AliExpress account, as you can see, all orders. If we just filter, let's go from June to the end of August, you can see, you'll be able to see then the kind of products that I was selling. This was like another product I was experimenting with, but you'll see as we scroll through that like the main product that I was selling, that was my winner at that time, was this green kind of turquoise bracelet. So these were some like Buddha charms, these were some other bracelets, and I think actually this one was just on my site, and this was just like a side purchase. People browsing would just come across this and buy it. That was the Buddha bracelets again, but you can see the majority of the orders is this green turquoise bracelet. If we just keep scrolling through and through, and you can see there's just page after page of different drop shipping orders. In fact, at this point in time, I think I was spending quite a bit of money on these Buddha bracelets as well. You can see there's quite a few orders for them as well. If we just go a bit further back, if we go all the way to the bottom, let's go to the last page. Then it's just a green turquoise bracelet and these kind of charm bracelets. There was just a load of different bracelets, in fact, that I actually forgot I started selling. So yeah, that's pretty much like what my first winning product was. And what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to close down my computer and just talk to you guys kind of like one-to-one about the different criteria of what a winning product is today versus what it was 3 years ago, and the kind of things that you have to do in order to get good results then when dropshipping in 2019. So in terms of differences then between now and back when I first started, the number one and biggest difference is how expensive Facebook ads are. In terms of the amount of people that are on the platform versus what they were 3 years ago, in ratio to how many people are advertising on the platform today versus 3 years ago, then it's become a lot more competitive and therefore a lot more expensive to advertise on it. And the only kind of effects that's had on people today is that you can't get away with lower quality, lower standard of products, lower quality ads. You have to up your game and you have to be better than everybody else. 3 years ago, there weren't as many people advertising, therefore the standard weren't as high. If you just think about it, I mean, it's a bit of a stupid example, but if you go on holiday or into your local town centre, there'll be kind of like a high street, a main street of shops, and there'll be loads of different cafes or loads of different takeaways or loads of different restaurants, and every single restaurant will be a good restaurant who will provide good service and good food. And that's because it's really competitive, and the only way they'll survive is by being good at what they do. And that's kind of how Facebook ads is today. Unless you're good at what you're doing, then you won't survive. In terms of expectation then versus reality, in terms of expectations then of achieving your first sale and when you can expect to start making a profit, then it doesn't really change from what it was 3 years ago. The only difference is it's a lot harder. So the potential is exactly the same. You can go from naught to making 10 grand a month like I did within the first few months, except if you want to do that today, then you have to be performing at a better quality. So you have to have a better quality ad, you have to have a really good professional looking store, and the products you're selling as well. I think you're going to struggle. Like back then, I was selling products for £5. Even today, I've tried to sell products that cheap profitably on Facebook and I just can't do it. Typically, I'll stay away from any products that I can't sell for more than £15. I like to leave myself at least £15 cost per purchase. So any product that allows me to have that room in there, then that's kind of like a typical and standard criteria that I'll look for in a product. So in terms of expectations then, yes, you can make your first sale on the first day. In terms of profitability, then yes, you can be profitable from day one, but it's an extremely hard thing to do. I was just speaking to somebody the other day on a one-to-one call, and they'd spent, I think it was about $6,000 on Facebook ads, and they were only just starting to make a profit, and they were confused because they'd seen people on Facebook spend $1,000 and make 10 grand back. And everything you see on social media won't be true. I don't want to talk about that because that's not a topic of this video, but what I do want to talk about is that don't ever compare yourself to other people. Just focus on what you're doing. And in terms of profitability, then everything you spend on Facebook ads, you've got to see as an investment, and you're spending that money to learn something. The more data you have to make comparisons, to spot patterns, then the more likely you are to be profitable, as long as you know what you're looking for. That's why I put a lot of content into my course about looking at numbers and spotting patterns and knowing when to kill or scale an ad set, because that's going to be the defining factor between whether you succeed or not when it comes to Facebook ads. On the very bottom line then, in terms of making sales and becoming successful at dropshipping, then there's 3 pillars to your success. You've probably heard me mention them in previous videos, and that is that you need a good store, you need a good Facebook ad, and you need a good product. It doesn't matter how well you do one or two of those things. If you're not doing all 3 correctly, then the whole structure breaks down. If you think you have 3 pillars and you're holding something up at the top, if one of those pillars is shorter than the other one, or crashes or snaps or breaks, whatever, then whatever's on top is going to fall over. And that is exactly how this kind of triangle works. You could have the best product in the world with the best Facebook ad in the world, but if you have a really poor looking store, then nobody's going to trust you and nobody's going to spend their money with you. And it works like this no matter what way you play it. So you could invest thousands of pounds into a really professional, decent looking store, one of the best in the world. You could have one of the best products in the world as well that everybody wants it. But if you don't advertise it very correctly, if you have a really poor Facebook ad that doesn't demonstrate the product and it goes out to the completely wrong audience, then again, you're not going to get the success that you're hoping for. So just keep that in the back of your mind. If you're not getting the results that you want to see, then it's either because your Shopify store isn't up to standard, you've got a really bad Facebook ad, or you've just got a product that people just don't want to buy. So all that being said, then how do you actually do those things correctly? So let's start with Facebook ads. And what I'm going to do is just give you a few kind of like broad tips that will hopefully apply to everybody, so this video can help as many people out as possible. And then if you have any questions whatsoever, then please feel free to leave them down below. So number one, then, your Facebook ad, it has to demonstrate what the product does. It doesn't matter whether it's a watch or, in fact, it depends on what your overall goal is then. If you just want to purely make sales, then it's all about the product. If you want to build a brand, then it's all about the movement. So for example, then Nike trainers, or Nike if you're American, if you go and watch one of their ads now on YouTube, not once do they actually talk about their products. They don't say what the products are made out of, or how they can increase your performance. They'll just talk about what people have achieved wearing their clothing, wearing their trainers, because it's all about the brand and the movement that people buy into. They're not buying into the fact that you might get an extra 5% spring than you would with an Adidas trainer. It's not that. It's about the brand. Whereas if you're trying to sell a product, then the ad has to be all about the product. You have to demonstrate exactly what it is. And the best way you can do this then is to have somebody actually using it and showing the benefit to it. Show the person's face. Faces attract attention more than just a standalone product, because people connect on that kind of level. Show a person showing an emotion. A good company to go and look at that's done this really well is a dropshipping company called Blue Crate. If you look at all of their ads, all of their videos, it doesn't matter what the product is, they've got actors in it that are laughing, smiling, showing emotion, and just demonstrating exactly how the product works. In terms of how you create an ad doing that, then there's a couple of ways. It depends on what your budget is really, or what you enjoy doing. So I have a dog, I'm in the dog niche, so a lot of my videos I'll film with my dog. I'll get my girlfriend to hold the camera, or I'll set it up on a tripod, and I'll run around the garden like an idiot with my dog, feeding it water from a bottle or playing with a different toy, because I enjoy doing it. It's quite fun to do. If you don't want to do that, you haven't got a decent camera, or you haven't got a crazy high budget, then you can simply just go on fiverr.com and you can find pretty decent product video creators for about $50, and they'll create you a pretty decent looking ad that you can then go on and start using with your Facebook ads. Or if you're creative yourself, then simply just create one yourself. You can get free video editing softwares off the internet which you can download and just create your own ad. In fact, there's apps on your phone in which will allow you to do so. So that's Facebook ads then. Hopefully you guys learned something new there, or something that sparks an idea. That's the idea of these YouTube videos. It's just to spark some ideas in your mind. Anything you don't understand or you're not quite sure about, feel free to leave a comment down below. I always get back to every single person. And with that being said, then let's move on to number two then, which is your Shopify store. So how do you create a really decent looking Shopify store? And the easiest way to do it is, again, it depends on what your goal is. If you're creating a brand, then it has to be around the kind of feel and theme and movement and brand that you want to create. Whereas if you just want to create a decent looking store that has the potential to make lots of sales, then I would just recommend keeping it simple and not overcomplicating things. So have a white background, have black font, and have like a really neutral font as well, that like Helvetica or something like that. Just keep it really simple. Have decent images, again with white backgrounds. Don't complicate it. Don't have like a pink background with blue writing. Just keep it really simple and neutral colors, because then it's going to be to the liking of everybody. When you buy a brand new house, then the walls are always white with like a grey carpet, because it's neutral colors that's going to apply to the widest range of people. And you have to apply that same principle then to your Shopify store. In terms of the product page itself then, I tell people this all the time. If there's something on the page that is there for no reason, then get rid of it. So any tax notes, anything that says tax included, get rid of that. If it's not there, and if it's on the page and it doesn't help sell the product, then get rid of it. So size charts, obviously that helps sell the product, keep it. Benefits and features, that help sell the product, keep it. Product images, keep it. But tax notes that just say tax included, or shipping, tax and delivery to be calculated at checkout, or whatever the note is, that doesn't help sell the product. Anything that's going to create a question in your customer's mind, you need to get rid of it. The whole point of your product page is to break down those barriers so the customer has nothing left to think about other than how they actually buy the product. And that really is as simple as it is. So I'm not going to say anything more on that, because again, I've done lots and lots of more videos going into a ton more detail just on that topic. So with that being said, then moving on to number 3 then, which is your product. So how do you choose a really good product? So when it comes to picking a product, then there's loads of different ways to approach this. Number 1, you have to make sure that it's like a viable product to dropship. So make sure it's legal in your country, for example. Don't try and dropship weapons. Make sure you can actually advertise it on Facebook. So go to the Facebook ad policies, a simple Google search will take you straight to it. So you can, like things like medical kits, you're not allowed to advertise them on Facebook. Anything that like within the health and beauty niche as well, you have to be quite careful about, because anything that can create false expectations about losing weight or things like that will get banned as well. So just make sure you're, number 1, allowed to import it into your country, number 2, allowed to advertise it on Facebook, and then you have to move on to things like the actual criteria of the product in terms of its weight. If it's really heavy, then is that going to be a viable product to dropship, because shipping is going to be crazy expensive from China. The actual size of it, if you're trying to dropship a canoe, then of course that's going to cause problems as well. Then there's the whole price of it. Depending on what country you're importing into, there may be certain customs and duties. So if the cost to you, if you're drop shipping into the UK, if the cost of the product including shipping is more than £15, there's going to be potential customs duty that the customer is going to be liable for. Now it depends on the supplier. Some suppliers on AliExpress will put a lower value on the invoice than what you've actually paid to help it go through unnoticed, but it depends on what supplier you're using. So in terms of the physical criteria, then I think I've covered them all. Electrical items can be a bit of a tricky point, especially if they plug into the wall. So just make sure you do some research into those. Make sure the supplier you're buying from has the required certificates for the country. So coming into the EU, as a very minimum, you need CE certificates. If the product arrives at customs without that certificate, then it's just going to stay in customs forever and your customer will never receive it. Just make sure you do your research, be clever about this. So in terms of the physical requirements, then they are all the ones that spring to mind right now. In terms of what actually makes a good product for Facebook is what I call a social product. So a product that when somebody sees it, they have a connection with it, they have an emotional reaction to that, and it creates attention. And I guess that's a really good way to put it, in fact, is that you want to pick a product that's going to create attention, because that's what people are going to share. You have to take advantage of the fact you're advertising on a social media platform. You've got all this potential access to people sharing it. Every time somebody shares your ad, your product, then you have a potentially another 200 to 300 people who are going to see that. Depends on how many friends they have, obviously, but on average, the average Facebook user has 200 friends. So take advantage of that. Anything that attracts attention, and to do that, they either have to have never seen it before, have a really good interest, or have some sort of emotional connection to it. So if you're trying to advertise a fridge on Facebook, then it's going to be a difficult thing to do, because people don't get excited about fridges unless it's some sort of fridge that sings to you or does something really crazy that gets attention. Then you're not going to take advantage and you're going to struggle to be consistently successful with your Facebook ads. And then finally, guys, because I feel like I'm talking for way too long now, is you want a product that has an actual place within a market that you can target. So for example, then I could think of a product like, it has to be a product then that there's a need for, that people will actually find useful and want to buy. So for example, then an LED dog collar, I know it's a typical example, but it solves a problem. There's a need for it, there's a want for it, because it actually does something for somebody. It makes their life easier, and there's that emotional connection to it as well, in the fact that it could actually potentially save their dog's life, and people really care about dogs, and that's why the LED dog collar is such an ideal product for advertising on Facebook. So just keep that in mind then when you come across a product. Is there a purpose for this product? Is it just a bit of tat that nobody really wants, or is it actually genuinely going to improve somebody's life? And with that being said then guys, I think that pretty much just wraps up the video. Hopefully again I've sparked some ideas in your mind. If you have, then let me know. I always love hearing the feedback from these videos, so leave a comment down below. That will enter you into the one-to-one draw as well. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, then please do leave a like too. And with all that being said then, let's get into announcing the winner of the one-to-one call. So here we are then guys, on my previous video. Remember, I'm uploading a video every single day in June. If you haven't watched it yet, please do go and check it out. And I'm just going to take the URL then, top left, head over to our random comment picker, get YouTube comments, 30 unique comments, which is absolutely awesome. So thank you very much guys for all the support. And the winner of the previous video then is final. So thank you very much for your comment. Please do reach out on Instagram and we can get that call arranged. And guys, if you just want to get straight down to business and book a call right away, you can actually do so. Make sure you check out the links in the video description down below. And with that being said then guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you all tomorrow.